All right, so this is my template net worth and monthly expenses and budgeting Google Sheet that I think everybody could use to track their net worth. I've tried to make it as thorough as possible, but it also has a lot of flexibility depending on what you need to do. So first, let's look at everything holistically just so you know what we're looking at. Obviously, this is the most important number. This is your net worth. This is your net worth, and your net worth is a combination of 1, your cash, 2, your hard assets and real property, and 3, your hard money notes receivable, or wherever else you may have your money coming in. So let's look at everything. First, holistically, right? So these are all your cash accounts. These are things that you could convert to cash pretty quickly, probably within a week. Most of these are probably instant, as you can see. We'll go through each of those shortly. Here's your hard assets and real property. These are your cars, your primary home, and so forth. And then your hard assets and real property, those are your loans through private money lending and different things like that. And then down here, we've got your recurring and monthly expenses, which we'll go through in a bit. And this is your little tracker that we can go through as well. So let's begin. So let's start with the cash and liquid accounts. Basically, you're going to go through all your accounts. WF just stands for Wells Fargo, but if you have a credit union, you could say Golden West Credit Union or America First Credit Union or Zions Bank or wherever you bank, Chase Bank, and you just put them in there. If your balance is $250,000, then that's what you type in. You do this at the end of each month or at the start of each new month, and you just go through and you update all of your accounts, okay? So you've got your investment accounts, you've got your SEP IRA, you've got your 401ks, and then a few notes that I want to make on some of these. This is your HSA, and I have a little note if you highlight over, kind of explains the limits. Looks like it's going to be about $7,100 for family, $3,550 if it's just yourself, so you can have HSA accounts. These are health savings accounts. Robinhood if you're messing around with trading. This one's important. This is your emergency fund. Strive for a goal of having at least 3 months saved, maybe go for 12. In this case, that's what we're doing here. This is a 12-month number, and I'll show you how we get that in a bit. But basically, we look at your monthly expenses. In this case, in this example, your monthly expenses are $5,300. You could go 12 months without making money based upon what's in this account, which is nice to know. And that's how much you need to have saved in that account. So you're always putting the real numbers in these accounts. You're not putting what you want. So keep that in mind. Okay, this is your Christmas savings account. I recommend doing one of these. Figure out how much you want to budget, divide it by 12, and start saving every month. Same for your vacations, same for your new home. You know, I don't know how much you want to have in there, but 1667 is what that example says. Your car insurance, same thing. Figure out how much it is, divide by 6 or 12, and factor that in. Same with your property taxes, same with your unplanned and unexpected. I call this a sinking fund. Keep it around $3,000 if you can. That's where you want to be if you want to have the ability to not worry when something bad happens, like a water heater breaks, or you need to replace something in your roof, or plumbing issues, or something like that. So keep that about $3,000 and you can usually cover it. This is your credit card. If you have debt on your credit card, make it negative. Same with your student loan. And I've created a bunch of other accounts here that you can mess around with. And these are your cash accounts. They get totaled up here. Number 1 for your net worth. Over here are your cars. Take the low book value of your cars. If you have any debt on your cars, take the net. So if you bought your car for 10 grand and it's worth 5 grand and you owe 0, then it's worth 5 grand. If you owe 5 grand, then it's worth 0, right? Basically, you just need to be looking at your Kelley Blue Book value, seeing if you have a loan on it, and putting the net of your cars in there. Same with your house. So I just pulled up a random example. If we have a house here for $182,000, it looks like. Let's say you paid $150,000 for the house, okay? So it's $182,000. You paid $150,000. So you've got $32,000 of equity, and let's say you still owe, I don't know, $120,000 on it. That's your math. So your house, you would put negative $88,000 in it, kind of thing, right? Basically, just figure out where you're at with your house and put it in, whether it's positive or negative, into your sheet. Now for your hard money loans, this is just a little template you can do here. I like to organize it like this. You put the name, the loan name, the amount loaned, the amount wired, whatever you charge for origination. None of this really matters past column C, but this does. The amount loaned is part of your net worth, and so as you can see in this example, for my hard money loans, I put $177,000. If I had a bunch of those, I'd put them all in there. Okay? Same with your land, same with your real estate, always taking these net. Whatever it's worth, whatever it's owed, factor in depreciation, all that kind of other stuff. If you need an accountant or a CPA, let me know and I can try to hook you up with one, and so on and so forth. And then down here are your business interests. This is kind of what you want to factor in, like how much is your business worth? I don't put this into my net worth because it's subjective kind of, but it's good to kind of have it in the back of your head. So in this made up example for our two people, Nick and Nick's wife, $2,250,000. And I actually should put a little line here to separate these out too. So I'll do that. The assets listed below the first and the second. So all of these assets are not going into your net worth now, but it's kind of good to separate them out. Maybe I'll make that a little bigger too, just to make it a little prettier, because I have some OCD, right? Okay. Now, this is where you calculate your average monthly income. We're going to look at our next sheet, which leads into that nicely in a second. But figure out what your monthly net income is, put that in there, and then over here, you can get a good projection of what you're going to do. And then I also like to look at the net. So after taxes and tithing, everybody has a different tax bracket. If you're in the highest, as of 2020, this is kind of how it all plays out after your charitable contributions and your taxes and your tithing. If you make $1 million, you'd keep, 46,000 or something. So this does the math on that and gives you a pretty accurate estimate. Kind of being aggressive too, so you know, worst case, here's what I need to be setting aside to pay my taxes and my bills, so you never run into issue there. Okay, now last thing to look at here, this is your second tab. This is your 2020 gross and net income tracker. By the way, every year you just duplicate this, right click, duplicate, and then you can rename it 2021. So here's how this works in this example. Let's say you have a goal to make 1.2 million gross and net 600,000. Okay, all you got to do is adjust these two numbers. Everything else is done. As you can see, it's all formulaic at that point. Makes it nice and beautiful. Then you just go down here and you type it. Figure out what your gross was. Obviously, if you don't know the difference between net and gross, check with your accountant or CPA. They'll help you figure that out to get all of your expenses and your cost of goods sold and everything. And then your net. In this case, I just typed in some random numbers. You could type in whatever you wanted, 200. Maybe this interest account made me 75. Maybe this one made me 280 bucks. So on and so forth. Now you just figure out what your gross is. So in this case, the gross for Nick's real estate business was 100,000. The gross for his wife's was 125. And there is no other gross on there. So just grab these, because these are part of gross too. Net's also part of gross if it isn't calculated in, if that makes sense. So we've got $2,035 to add, plus 100 plus 25, so we got 125,000 plus 2035. My gross for that month is 127. So I put it in. Oops. Let's make it actually be pretty, huh? 127,035. And now you can see we're ahead on our gross that month. Okay, net, same thing, except for we're not going to do gross. So we've got 50, we've got 10, plus all these guys. I'm just holding down control to grab them. A lot of different ways to do that. So 62,035 is our net. 62,035. And that gets us to our net, which is pretty nice. Now, from this point, we can see that our new goal for next month is we have a lesser goal to get it. We don't need to make as much. Same with our gross. But let's say we type in all our numbers for February, and this month we put in 20,000, and this month I'll change that maybe to 60,000, or I don't know. Yeah, 60,000. And we'll say our net will end up being 30,000. So you can see we were short 7 on our net. We were short there. This is what we expected to have by then. This is what we expected to have for our nets and gross, but here's where we're actually at. So now we're behind. So now next month our goals kind of get reset a little bit higher, and that's how that works. Okay, so we can reset all those back to our nice beautiful template. And the only two numbers you're ever messing with in here are just these guys. So sorry, not the goals, just your actuals, these two numbers, and then everything else will be done for you. All right, now the last thing to look at, like I said, is this part of our sheet. So we just scroll over here, and this is our monthly expenses. I've tried to include everything, and again, these are your monthly expenses, these are your yearly expenses, these are your expenses due every 6 months, and these are your random recurring expenses, because they happen but maybe you don't think about them as much. I've tried to include what most families would have and just made up some random numbers for them, but you can edit them and do whatever you want. Just make sure as you edit you're not bumping the sheet, because if you do, then you'll just have to adjust some numbers up here to do some calculating. This number calculates your emergency fund, which is important, so just keep that in mind. It's very simple though. These are just summing up the totals here, 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 and here. You can see summing it up. And then what they're doing is they're breaking them down monthly. Your monthlies are already going to be the same, but these monthly, that's how much you need every month. These every month, every month. So for this particular example, this is how much you need every month in order to hang out and be able to have that life. So it's always good to know. And then this tells you how much you can go. And the reason it knows what to go with is it's looking at this account. Obviously you can go a lot longer, but it's always nice to know that you have that hypothetical emergency savings account where if everything went bye-bye, you'd still have that emergency account and you'd be good to go. And that, in a nutshell, is the template net worth and monthly expenses and budgeting sheet. Now, a couple things that you should do. I can share this with anybody who wants it, so just let me know whenever you do. I'll just send you the link. But don't use this one, otherwise everybody will see your net worth, which is maybe fine, but probably not good. Just go File, make a copy, and then rename it. Rename it, you know, the net worth and, you know, Nick and wife. Net worth, monthly expenses, and then name it for whatever day you do it. So I usually do mine on like the 14th of each month or something. You can do the same because you want to track at the same time every month. Otherwise your interest will accumulate differently, the money you receive will come in. So the key is to track it the same day, the same time every single month to get it right. Okay? One last thing I'd like you to do, this will help you, because you need to track your net worth over time and remember it. So you just go File, Version History, Name Current Version. Every month, at the end of the month when you do it, name it. And you're just going to name it like this. Nick and wife, net worth, as of 5-9-2020. And then save. And the reason that's important is because then you can go File, Version History, and then you can click See Version History, and then you can look at all the different version histories by clicking up here, Show Only Named Versions. And of course this doesn't have any, but if it did, it would. And then you'd have all of the version histories going for just the named versions that you named, which is really nice because then you can look at it over time and say, oh, I remember what we had net worth 10 years ago, 5 months ago, and so on and so forth. And that is our template net worth monthly expenses document. I'll leave these numbers in here. Oh, one more thing you should do. Control F, go here, find Nick, replace with your name, whatever your name is, and then you just click Replace All, and it will replace Nick with me, Zach, and so on with all the different things. And then you wouldn't have to change all these out and figure out where it may say Nick and where it wouldn't. And I think that'll do it for you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will share the link with you in the YouTube video in the notes and description section as well.